Sorry, production back end shenaniganery. Hello, welcome again to our previously scheduled every 2 weeks Saturday game of Rebel Crown. I am Strash, he, him. I am one of the regular streamers here. You can find me on Strash A, or at Strash A, sorry, on Twitter. Yes, I am 100% together and everything is smooth today. And also, just a note for actual play. This is a thing that we're doing because we're in the middle of the apocalypse. Just a reminder to anyone that's actually subbing and or donating. Currently, all our subs and donations are actually getting forwarded. We are donating them. We're splitting them between BLM and the Translegal Defense Fund. So until the apocalypse becomes less apocalypsy, which it isn't seeming like it is doing in the not too distant future, that is the thing that's going on. So, Luke, you should say hi. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, everyone. There's a heat wave in Australia, and I'm dying. I got 90 minutes of sleep last night. Let's play a role-playing game. You can find me on Twitter at Wildwoods Games or something, I guess. My pronouns are they, them. Lauren, I hope you're doing better than I am.
I'm doing good. Yeah, doing good. It's winter here, so I'm not dying as much, but it's sort of, internally on the inside, it's like the days get shorter. um, oh god, I need vitamin D. Anyway, yeah, no, I'm Lauren. I use she they. I am at the Stray Kiwi on Twitter, and I am playing the claimant in Rebel Crown, who is this kind of spooky witch lady. She was of a higher noble house that's related to the current evil dude on the throne that we're trying to topple. He had a hand in labeling her branch of the family as ghost worshippers or wraith worshippers, and they were all killed off apart from Kale, the claimant, and now she has gathered together a band of people she trusts very deeply to take on Medic, the evil king. How are you doing, Jed?
Hey, I'm Judd. He, him. I'm well. I'm dealing with winter problems as the great wolf in the sky eats the sun, and we doesn't shit it out until early April, maybe.
Gom Doobie always be at that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I hear you, and I definitely sleep better this time of year. And yeah, the heat in the summer is rough. So I absolutely understand. Yeah, I feel you.
Oh my god, Judd, I just realized you're lacking your wizard beard.
I am. I threw it away. I tried to trim it and it made a mess, and I had to cut it off. And now,
I should have shaved. Damn
it. Yeah. Now I only pine for it when I watch when I catch up on actual play videos that we're in. And I want to watch the last couple minutes to see where we ended up. And I see the beard, and I'm like, oh man,
I like that beard.
Yeah, but
how long does it take you to grow out like that?
That was most of COVID.
Oh,
I mean,
shit.
I had trimmed it quite a bit. It wasn't like, a full 8 months of ridiculous wizardry, but yeah, it was.
Next time, Judd, can we request full wizard beard?
I don't
just let it go wild.
No, I think wild is not how any. No, I'm afraid I'm gonna have to veto that one. Sorry, Luke. In respect of my marriage, I'm gonna
oh, that's fair.
But and my skin, when I shaved it, like I did not. My moisturizing game was not as strong as it needed to be. So this type of thing is definitely why folks clicked on the link and came to this stream without a doubt.
Yes, I was actually just laughing about that. I was like, Rebel Crown quality.
I kind of want to see Rebel Crown, but what I really want to know is
moisturizing
regime. What does he do?
Funny, John, as you've begun your spiel, I was really, really expecting you to just lean into the outro that Lauren had given and be like, yes, hello, I'll be playing the evil King Matic.
Nice. Speaking of which, I think that will be kind of the prelude to this game. Is so last game, the crew, the rebellious crew, got to tier 2.
Yeah.
And so I think
right.
One aspect of that is that you're on Maddox's radar now. You're no longer flying under. And so we see, we cut to High Straith, and the camera pans into uh, the Talon Perch, which is where King Madoc roosts, and we see his council, and it's Sir Vatic, who is a face we probably recognized from some of the Night of No Moon flashbacks, and we see Fas, who is an Elenian sworn sword, from probably across the strait, right? Darach, Nather. Yeah, he probably looks somewhat like a lot of the soldiers that Artair, fought against and with, and we see a young woman named Lady Jadzia, and she is reading letters, and she says, "We have word from merchants coming out of the Sedgelands that the Witch Queen has taken the southern reach of your kingdom. The Sedgelands, and by now, my guess is that Whitebeam will have fallen." And King Madoc says, "Why are you assuming that? She could die trying to take Whitebeam." She says, "You left Whitebeam ill-guarded, depending on too little force. And we never did find the Fioneg heir, and that is a problem. We had other priorities." And she said, and I think Maddox says, "We have to. What do you recommend?" And Sir Vatic says, "We need to get her to attack too soon before she's marshaled enough forces to really be able to be a credible threat." And Maddox says, "What other news?" And she says, "In Saltcrag, those witches are suddenly causing a lot more problems. They were dying down, but now they're rising back up." And he says, "That's it. Put 1,000 crowns or 1,000 eagles, maybe 1,000 eagles, 1,000 gold eagles on the head of one of the witches. I want whoever he was captured brought here to the High Straith, and we'll burn them at the stake. That'll draw her out." She says, "Why do you think that?" She goes, she grew up hearing that we of the accusations about her family being witches and wraith worshippers. She'll have a trauma-induced soft spot for the witches. So bring them here. She'll come soon after." And as you wish, Your Majesty. And let's do some downtime.
Judd, can I before we cut away, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
About this scene that we've just seen?
Yeah.
Do we anywhere in this scene see a familiar face of a friend, love interest? What exactly is the word that you would use, Lauren, to characterize your relationship?
You're absolutely right. Yeah. I totally forgot somebody.
It's on my roll page.
Yeah.
Deeply held relationship.
Lady Una.
I think Lady Una was definitely at the table. You're absolutely right, and I apologize. I had written down to bring her in, and I forgot. Lady Una was definitely there, and I think there is another bit of dialogue that I want to kind of throw in there, and say. And Lady Una says there's an Imperial spy in their party. She's viable. Her loyalties are for hire. And and Maddox is, then for goodness sake, offer her whatever. Let's just get this done. I'm tired of this. Vadok, you told me that whole line was dead. Yes, well, I checked their pulses. They were dead. That's where we'll end it. Cool. Downtime.
Cool,
Just want
cool.
to observe everyone. My determination to stage like the Night of No Moon 2 as the final scene of this
Ooh.
campaign and just let the race into Maddox Castle is like growing by the moment.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Cool. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Ooh.
Who wants to do some downtime first?
feel like
Anybody
the
have any
first-
ideas?
Downtime could be Kale and Ater's arrival back to town, right? You know, like
Aw, that's nice.
where Kale like arrives and sort of like takes counsel, or takes like sort of speaks in the streets, you know, like about at the return from the castle and like the what she saw there and that kind of thing, and you know, as long as the spirit is true, will never die. Like sort of trying to show, like, you know, you can backing us is good because we know what we're doing, even if things get scary. To kind of like reduce unrest in this area. Because the unrest is tied to specific like regions, right? It's not like general.
No, it's generally in areas we control.
Yeah. So I think I'll if that sounds good to everyone else. I don't want to like
That's fine.
pigeonhole us into that.
That sounds
like a
cool.
sol-
So it sounds like you're taking an action to reduce unrest. Do we want to roleplay anything more of that, or is this?
I could go either way.
It's up to you
Yeah.
if you think it's sufficient, and unless Judd wants to throw monkey wrenches into things. I'm
No,
okay
no,
with
no.
it.
Not necessarily a monkey wrench. Yeah.
Old Monkey Wrench Judd.
Yeah. What like what does Kale have to say, I guess? What is it that she's telling people that will calm their fears?
I think it's like unity always provides more resilience and strength than chaos and fragmentation. And we have come here, we have reclaimed the castle that no one thought could be reclaimed again. We've created a foundation, we've helped heal, we've put souls to rest. Now is the time of ushering in peace. And while that still may mean engaging in some acts of violence, it's harmony and sleep and a closed door at the end of your days that we can promise, kind of thing.
Nice. Love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. And should we roll entanglements at some point? Well, do you want to make a roll to see how much unrest you
Heck yeah.
knock off?
This feels like a sway kind of thing. It's not quite consorting because I'm not trying to like get
Yeah.
like to create connections. I'm just trying to like calm people down.
Sounds good.
I'll go ahead and roll this way. I got a 4.
Cool. Yeah. So we just knocked. It's not a fortune roll, right? Or it is a fortune roll. It's not.
I don't know.
It's a downtime roll.
Yeah.
I believe it reduces us. So what we're doing is quell unrest on a 4 to 5. You reduce it by 2. So
Cool.
we're
Oh,
currently
cool.
at 7. We'd reduce it by 2. But don't you have a power for this, Lauren?
Oh yes, I get greater. Thank you. I can't believe I just said I had it. I get greater effect on when it's reducing unrest.
Okay. So
Yeah, plus one result level when reducing unrest.
all right,
So that
so
would make it a.
that would be the equivalent of a
Okay.
6. So we'd reduce it by 3. So we go from 7 to 4.
That's not bad. It's still a bit
That's not bad at all.
spooky, but
Cool.
I'm just trying to remember if we rolled entanglement last time.
Yeah, I was actually thinking that as well.
I think we did. Dang it.
Did we? I feel like the last entanglement. I don't know. I didn't see that when I was rewatching the video.
Oh, we'll go with you.
In that case,
Because if you
we've got a-
saw
we've got a
it,
moment. Your memory of it is more recent than ours is.
Yeah. So I'm going to roll on the unrest table 4 to 5. Is that correct?
In the interests of fairness, we should,
should
be
be the
rolling on the
7.
6 table.
Yeah, and
As
then
we roll
we can
entanglements before we
do downtimes. Yeah.
Got it.
But I believe it's you roll 2 dice, take the
It's-
lowest because we have 0
Yeah.
ire
The Empress does not care about us yet.
yet.
Got it.
I'm
Cool.
working on it.
So I will roll a d6. Let's see what happens.
2d6,
Yeah.
take the lowest.
2d6 take the lowest. Got it.
Because we have 0, so technically our ire
More
is.
riots.
Hang on, I gotta actually swap to the results to show. Okay.
Well, riots make sense after that,
Yep, riots break out in a holding, putting a source of solace at risk. We've still got the Crossroad riots back home in the Sedgelands. Now we got some
Yeah.
riots here too.
And I think what
What are these riots about?
Great
they
question.
they are about the fact that they don't trust Kale, and there is word going out that Kale hasn't put the dead to rest. She's hidden them in a place so that she can lead the army against Maddock later.
Interesting.
Which is like
Classic water muddying tactics.
it's a lie. Like it's not possible, right? It's just like yeah, it's just total nonsense.
But who
right?
knows what witches can do?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Not me.
Right. Right.
I believe it.
It's that classic usage of fear to encourage conservative responses to,
Yep.
to
Yeah.
actions.
Yep,
yeah.
yep.
Is Maddox Spymaster in some way, shape, or form responsible for this? Absolutely.
Right. Oh, totally. Totally.
Or
yeah,
at the
yeah.
very least encouraging it,
Yeah. Matter of fact,
Hey.
you probably see one of the merchants in town opens a letter with the spy master's sigil on it, closes it, whispers to someone, and then you watch that gossip spread something that we all know because
Yeah.
of the time we're living in. So yeah. Why even say it at this point? So yeah, I think it's a source of solace, right? So it is it just
Yeah.
one source?
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Okay.
And prayer for me and Lauren is already shut down because of the riots in Belheather.
Got it. So what are our other solace choices?
We've got companionship or art.
So I think companionship is messed up, right?
Alright,
the way
sure.
people are socializing is a mess. In
Curfews, I imagine, because of the writing and this.
yeah.
Would you say that it's messed up locally?
Yeah.
Which is fine. Can I... Alright, cool. I'd like to actually go
John,
in...
I'd like to resist that consequence.
I don't know that we can, right? It's a downtime, it's an entanglement. But I think I'm
Yeah.
gonna resist it by just going out there and freaking handling this.
Yeah.
I think that our terror in particular is usually just rumors are rumors, right? You don't fight the rumors by trying to disprove them, because arguing on the equivalent of ye olde internet is not gonna work. You gotta, usually you fight rumors by giving people something else to talk about, right? And that's a fine and standard strategy, but I think that this is one of those things where our terror is just nope, I'm gonna go set the record straight. Someone is wrong on ye olde rumor mill. So yeah, I think that in particular for him, this is a grievous insult, right? Because he's just anyone that is hoarding wraiths, I will never work for. Do you disbelieve me? Cool. Take a look at these. The muscles are good, but I mean the actual scars, right?
Aran, meanwhile, nudges his supply of bodies behind a cart.
Shh. It's okay. But yeah, no, I think Artair definitely, it's just yeah, look, the truth of this is writ upon my flesh. I fight these things, day in, day out. I would never serve somebody that makes alliances with ghosts and the unholy. F that noise. Yeah, if you believe it, cool. Show me something. Like otherwise, you're gonna have to my proof is written in blood. Where's yours? So, is it cool? Can I make some rolls to maybe I spend one of my actions to quell some unrest because I don't need to solace this time because I have 0 friggin' stress because I traumaed out last time.
Oh, nice.
Or sorry, scarred up last time, I guess.
Cool.
Cool. So I'm gonna try and reduce it again. I do not have the cool power like my friend does. But let me see what skills I have. Yeah, I think Arter's attitude is a little less kind and gentle, right? Like Kale is like, I give you hope, I give you the future, I give you promises, and Arter is just like, oh yeah, you want to spread rumors? You're going through me, right? Like Arter's take on that is
See it to my face.
Yeah, to my face. I'm in this bar right now. I'm gonna have companionship with normal people, and if you do not like it or want to shut it down, you're gonna have to come here and tell me about it.
Oh, I can totally see it too, like this crowd at a table, like going, "Oh, that witch queen," and like we just cut to like Altair in the background, and like his fist clenches around like a stein.
Here we go. I'm also going to reduce unrest. Let's do it. Woof. Best to get that roll out of the way. That's cool. It's down to 3.
The anti-crit.
Oof. Oof. Yikes. That's all right. That's all right.
Double ones if you didn't see it at home.
Yikes. I think I am on this
Snake
screen.
eyes.
Yeah. Snake eyes, yeah. Well, it's really funny because the roll before that, obviously I land the crit. Now I land the snake eyes. Both are 1 in 36, just on the other side of the spectrum.
Yeah, before you were a Tempest Hawk flying high in the sky, and then you came down to land, and a snake slithered its way out of the grass and bit you.
Snake eyes. 2 snakes. All right.
You got.
I did. It's okay. I still quell some unrest, just maybe not as much.
It's true.
This bar is quelled, but all the other ones.
Yeah, all the other fucking bars. I feel like if I can like introduce an element here, I wonder if part of this also is that like, you know how there's that classic beat in Henry V.
I love that this is a classic beat. Go on.
The classic beat in Henry V. Henry V is a great example, but that classic beat of like the ruler who has come up through the ranks with the people from humble origins and then reaches like a Rubicon where like all of a sudden they realize that like the common people are not treating them the same way anymore because like they've reached like terminal mass of like authority and like privilege and like aristocratic bearing, and it starts to like change the way that they can relate to people. And the reason I call out Henry V is because like Shakespeare gives us a really beautiful tragic example of it there. Like I almost wonder if part of this is that like after like this big fight we just had with the Wraiths and like Kale went missing, Wraith fight and then survived, and like Artair fucking murdered these like super Wraiths. Like the people, like Drostan's bandits, our people don't view you two in quite the same way anymore. Like it's not that they dislike you, but there is a distance of awe beginning to grow that makes camaraderie like hard to come by.
That's true. Okay, that sounds interesting. I'd buy into that.
Awesome. Love it.
I'm just thinking about Shakespeare, like.
Yeah.
We are in the land of nobles and fake history. This is not necessarily the worst thing to be thinking about.
I'm about to do some Shakespeare in my.
Oh yeah.
So like, I'm getting prepared.
You doing a downtime action there, Luke?
I'm doing a Shakespeare adjacent downtime action.
Shakespeare adjacent. Wow, today has been quite the day for quotes.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take my first downtime action.
Yeah.
I think Brother Oren is going to write a letter. And Judd, wait, let me describe the letter, and then we'll get to the mechanic bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think we just see Oren like drawn and pale still from getting swamped by wraiths. Yeah. I think probably even like I don't know that he's even heard that Kale and Arter have made it back yet. I imagine this is happening like, you know, the night before or like at the same time, kind of like up in some cloistered cell, you know, monk's cell in Avon's where he's like staying. And, you know, it's like nighttime. There's like, you know, a waning sliver of moon outside the window. There's like a bunch of candles lit on his desk, but like the candlelight doesn't seem to touch him. Only the moonlight does. And so like he's lit in this really like pale, gaunt, severe looking way. And we get this first really good shot of like all of these like trailing wraith handprints just like draped down the front of his robes that are now just like these incredible like silver markings. And yeah, I think he's just like, he's got like a bunch of parchment sheets next to him that have been written on partially and then set aside. That are clearly like they're not even drafts, they're like abortive attempts to start writing this letter.
Wow.
But he's finally hit on the right opening. He's finally got it. And I think we see that moment of like, aha. And he's, you know, he like dips his pen in the little well and starts like scratchily writing this letter. And I think the opening is like it's like a theatrical reference, right? I think there is a very famous piece of like history / folklore that then, in the way that like Romeo and Juliet is based on a folktale and then got turned into a play, like it's the same kind of energy. This is a very famous imperial play that was once a historical anecdote. And I think, yeah, Oren is making some kind of like veiled and like half quoted reference to it in the opening lines of this letter. Because he is writing a letter to, let me just check that I have this person's name right, to Tyne, the high scholar of the Empress.
Nice.
And I think it is like there is nothing about politics in the letter. Like it is purely just like a discussion of like theater and literature. Oren is just like recounting an interesting performance of this play that he saw, you know, like back when we were over the channel, and then, you know, talks about like, you know, when he was down in a pub recently and he heard, you know, he saw like what's the thing I want? You know, like in the miracle plays and the mummers plays that were really big in like the 1300s, or like Commedia dell'arte, like a really rude, like crude kind of like street theater rendition of it that we saw like in Bell Heather a couple of weeks back, and like, you know, drawing some literary kind of lines between the two of them and the ways in which they express the needs of the common people, yada yada yada. I'm not gonna like put on my English major hat here. And yeah, I think the key thing is that like this particular play is, I think it's like a Richard III or something of the sort. Like it is a play, it is a tragedy about a villainous protagonist who is like the overlooked second, like spare heir to a family, who kind of like can't stand that and, you know, does some bloody and dubious things to kind of try and like get on the rise, and then like does start getting on the rise and then has to do more bloody and dubious things, and eventually it all tumbles, right? Like we all know how tragedies work. And Oren is like fairly subtly, but like to a person who is as learned as the high scholar, they're not gonna miss it. Like some very intentional parallels are being drawn here between this piece of literature and folk art and the current political situation in the kingdom.
Let me tie that back to what downtime action is this attempting to do?
So this is a long-term project.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This is a
cool.
long-term project, and the thing I would like this long-term project to do is I would like it to improve our status with the Imperial throne.
Okay.
I would like to make friends with the High Scholar so that he'll say nice things about us to the Empress.
That is
nice.
Shakespeare adjacent.
Yeah, right?
Nice.
Yes, John,
So
how many steps is that on the clock?
That what is it exactly that Oren is saying about this play as it relates to Kale? Like, what is his
Secret message.
yeah? What is he?
Like, what's
how
the subtext?
how is he using it as leverage?
I think that in the play, there is a higher authority, and I don't know, and I don't care enough to commit to like maybe it's like a high priest person, maybe it's
Uh-huh.
like maybe it's a liege lord, maybe it's the prior like emperor or empress, like I don't fucking care. But I think like I think there is this. God, I'm so full of literary references today. If we think back to Romeo and Juliet,
Yes.
and the ways in which, in like the a lot of the tragedy of Romeo and Juliet is down to the fact that the prince of the city like basically fails to take substantive action for the first like half of that play.
Right.
And like by the time he starts making substantive action and like banishes Romeo from the city, yada yada yada, like at that point it's too late. And so like I think it is very much that kind of an energy. Like there is in this play, there is this higher ranking figure who like looks the other way because these are the affairs of nobles. It is their right. It is their obligation. And I think this figure, like, it isn't their tragedy. They don't come to like a terrible end, but I think they do. There is a bit of a fall from grace subplot for them, wherein like the wider ramifications of this ambitious upstart's kind of, you know, actions on like the kingdom and the common people like
Okay.
start to damage that. And like, yes, I'm very much aware that like this is a metaphor that could cut either way depending on how this role goes.
Yeah.
Like Kale could very easily be cast as the upstart instead.
No,
Which
but
is
I think
why
I mean
I'm looking forward to fencing
yeah.
with this
Yeah,
man.
yeah, and that could be the way you guys make a friendship. Great, make a roll. That sounds really interesting.
Exactly.
I love
yeah,
that
because of-
before the game starts, Luke is like, I'm really tired. I only got an hour and a half of sleep. I don't know how good I'm going to be. Allow me to like lay down a thesis about Shakespeare and folk art before we start, though. Hold on, one second. I'm kind of
Like,
tired. but let me
Shakespeare
let me
I can
just
do
have
in
a
my
moment.
sleep.
I was like,
Very
I'm not going to lean on Luke real hard this game. I'm just going to like let him fade in the back if he wants to and come forward when he needs. He's going to be tired, but hold on. Let's Shakespeare and folk art. Hold on 1 second. Make that roll. What's going on?
How big is this clock, Judd?
I think it's an 8 clock.
Yeah, that works. And is that for a +1 status, just so that we can like anchor it
Yeah.
in like?
Yeah.
No, that seems totally fair to me. Cool. I'm gonna make this first roll. I think. Okay, Judd, can I make a pitch to you?
Yes.
If it's an 8 clock, can I also get him on my sheet as a contact out of it at the end? Not an
Yeah.
up arrow or down arrow.
Oh
just,
yeah, I like
on the
that.
sheet.
Yeah, I'm down with that. Yep.
Cool. Okay. Awesome. I think this is probably a consort.
Sounds good.
You know, like I don't think Oren is not strong arming yet.
Yeah. Of course not.
This is just the rapport building part of the exercise.
Yeah. You have no arm with which to strong. So yeah.
Exactly, right? Cool. Judd, if I were hypothetically to mark some gear, namely some writing supplies and a treatise on history,
Yeah.
would that help me with the thing?
I would say that would increase your effect.
Wonderful. Very much obliged.
Is that a
My
thing we
favorite
can
part-
do in downtime? I asked.
Is it?
I don't know that it is. That's why I'm asking.
I have no idea.
Like Luke, this is not an actual like. This is technically not an action roll. It's so much that you're using an action to do a downtime roll. I can definitely see this argument if you've like built up things that can help over like the long course, but I'm asking because like in traditional plays that's not a thing you do. This is a little weird, right? Like you also don't necessarily spend stress in downtimes to push and stuff like that when you're doing like one of your
Yeah.
town actions. So
I mean, you don't traditionally, from memory, there is nothing in the book that says you can't.
I
But like, I don't remember things that well in this moment because
I'm down with doing it if folks are comfortable with it and don't think it'll break the game terribly. I trust you all. I trust
I
our
think
ability.
let's err on the side of caution. Let's not do it, and then we can look it up later.
Okay.
I think is gonna work for me. My effect is standard. I don't have any bonus dice. Let's see what happens. Yep. That'll do. 2
Cool.
ticks. I'm happy with that. It's a good
Sounds
start.
How big is this clock? One more time.
Eight steps.
Is that too big for this game? Am I doing a Blades in the Dark clock? And
You know what?
not a-
Let's try it. If it gets
Yeah, we'll see what
too
happens.
ornery, we'll check it next time. I mean, we are affecting the Imperial Court. That feels right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And also, like, the other part of it too is like, I am exchanging like snail mail with someone in like the pre-industrial revolution.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
I expect to hear back from him next
Season.
next season.
Yeah. Totally.
It's a slow burn clock.
Awesome.
Alright, cool. Yep, that's my first action.
Who else has got some downtime to?
Lauren, you got another one?
Yeah, I'll petition for some advice because I could heal. So I am wraith touched and stuff.
Healing is good.
I had something else, but it's slipped my mind. I
My
think I was
hot
gonna.
take, healing
Oh,
good.
I was also thinking of writing to Una to close off that clock if the.
Ooh, that would also be good.
Yeah, those are the two things I'm grappling with right now.
That would also be good. Ooh.
But I can heal, and maybe if there's like a leftover downtime action or something, which there probably won't be. But if there is a leftover action, I can maybe borrow that one to close
Cool.
up to friendship with Una.
Because actually, yeah, on that note, if we just like pull back and think strategically for a moment, is the next job taking the Primrose Estates and like dealing with House Gear?
I
Like,
think we have to.
yeah, because like I think if that's the case, healing is like priority one because we want to all get down from that -1 die if we can,
Yeah.
because it sucks.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'll heal up then. I'll seek sanctuary with Brother Arn, and
Yeah.
we'll roll some healing dice.
I'm thinking like,
Let me ask a quick question before we do this. I also am. So last game I ticked over on an ability and I took.
good at healing.
No, actually, you took good at healing. I took take an extra action.
Oh yes.
So I'm going to have 3 downtime actions, but I was thinking of spending both of the last ones on healing as well. So the question that I'm posing is, do we want to like have this be separate events so that we can see like what healing looks like for each of us separately, or do we want to just like all be dealing with our wounds at the same time?
Ooh. Great question.
That's a very good question.
Great question. I kind of like the idea of a healing montage.
Yeah.
Great.
Maybe like there are some like hot springs in the mountains, in White Beam. Where you
I'm sorry, did we just get a Hot Springs episode of Rebel Crown? It's the worst anime trope. No, that's not the worst.
It
but...
makes sense though, because I imagine being like fresh race scars probably leave you feeling quite chilled. So a hot spring is probably a good panacea.
Yeah.
To...
Or
Thank
even,
you
like,
for backing up my hot springs nonsense. Lauren.
I love
Or
it.
even like,
Appreciate
or
that.
even
After Strash made fun of me.
Sorry, Jen, I apologize.
even like in the same way as Finland, are like medicinal saunas a big thing? Like we are in like a vaguely like that part of the world-ish feeling place. A bit
Right.
more Irish, I guess. Yeah, I'm just like kind of trying to think about like within the fiction, like how to frame Brother Oren going from like mechanically not being able to heal people to mechanically being very fucking good at healing people.
You know what? Maybe you were always good at it. It just wasn't super lucky before. But like, I think you're.
Yeah.
Let's have a different conversation. For example, we are.
Oh, I know what it is.
What wounds is everyone carrying?
I have it. I know what it is. I figured it out.
I have race touched. Like I have race
Yeah.
scars. Yeah.
I was gonna
Basically
say.
same. Yeah.
So it sounds like Brother Orin is bringing mystical stuff to bear
Need
to
some
help,
counseling.
which may also be.
Yeah.
the region we're in is very like wraith cursed, and so of course this is like the best place to learn quickly about like medicines of like wraith wounds.
I think what it looks like is like, I think the lead into this like healing montage is we get a like beautiful sweeping Lord of the Rings helicopter shot of a landscape, and it's like, I think in the very far distance of this landscape we can see the keep from last episode, and I think we can also similarly in the distance, like, we recognize some terrain as being like near where Kale had the conversation with Lilius, and near the church that Oren, you know, like went to borrow the relic from. Because I think like Oren learned his healing like in this region, right? Like literally in this local environment. And I think, you know, like there is like a world famous orchard here. So it must therefore be like a really fertile place and quite an unusual like place climate, like with microclimate wise. And so I think like there are just a bunch of herbs that Oren learned to use in healing and relies on in healing that just like basically only grow or like are only common here. And so I think it's just like we get this shot of like Oren like collecting and like stocking up on like this like massive amount of like healing herbs of various kinds. And then, you know, we get like a little shot of like his little, you know, like room where he's staying, and he's got like bundles of leaves tied with string hanging in the window to like dry them out. Yeah. So Kale, let's do some healing. Do you want to hang out and do some healing? So yeah, I think Oren makes you a tea. It's like a healing tea. It's got some sacred warming herbs in it, and I think Oren probably has a branch from a tree that he lights on fire, and then he anoints you with the smoke of it to like purge the bad humors from the wraiths. I think the tree, it's probably like a juniper branch or like a rosemary branch. Those are both very traditional in that part of Europe for kind of spiritual cleansing practices. Yeah, and then I think probably he does give you like an oil extract, like essential oil thing that he's prepared for like, yeah, like when you do bathe over the next like couple of weeks, just like put a couple of drops in the water and like it will produce like a beautiful smelling steam that you will find revitalizing to body and spirit.
Yeah, it's for sure. Like I'm imagining like some eucalyptus or like thistle. I feel like thistle is kind of like a numbing thing, which is probably quite good for
thistles.
Yes, like
that's the word I was looking for. You're talking about rosemary and whatnot. I was like, there's a specific plant here.
Yeah, it's like thistle and gorse and heather, I think is kind of like the vibe. Yeah, and I think like as like Lauren, do you want to have a brief conversation as we drink our tea together?
Yeah, that sounds fun. Ooh.
So the crew is up in the mountains for a healing retreat for a couple weeks. Okay. Good to know.
I do love the fact that Rebel Crown operates on a like 6-week job cycle. That means that we can just do that. We just be like, oh yeah, we go up to the mountains for a 3-week healing retreat. Like, what Duskfall crew ever got to take a 3-week healing retreat?
I've been in many games where that's been the case, but it's usually to let heat die down.
Yeah, exactly, right.
You did something
costing you something.
Light an area on fire.
I think ooh, I'm trying to think how Kale would lead the conversation, or what should ask. I think she's curious to know. Ooh, you know what? I think like she looks at her race scars and makes some sort of like offhand comment. She probably doesn't like really mean, but she's like, ugh, like now I look like Artair. We already share so many similarities in blood and bone, and now this.
I suspect before the end, Kale, many in this company will be bound in that fellowship.
But what of you? You were touched, and yet you're different. What? How have you changed?
Yeah, and I think Aaron like shakes his head, and he's like, "Forgive an old man his modesty, or I would show you. My scars are more easily concealed than the two of you, perhaps, but and I think he kind of like in the way that like, you know, when you're like talking about an injury, you will like unconsciously go to like nurse it. I think he just like reaches up to like his chest, kind of like near like his heart.
Oh. If it's okay, I think Kale would like put a hand over yours, and I
Yeah,
think
no,
would
absolutely.
maybe assume that like there's that niggling doubt or like insecurity about you, and I think like she says that cheesy thing of like we're stronger for this, and that's all she says. Yeah.
And I think he like shrugs and he says, "We lived through this. There is nothing special about suffering. People talk about the hammer and the anvil and the blade, and the living and the pain that we suffer and we cause. None of it's true. Suffering does not, of its own accord, make you stronger.
It might not, if it's
It's what
own
you
accord.
choose to do with it."
Exactly, Brother Arn. People are always searching for a narrative, for a story to make sense of the chaos and coincidences that we may experience whilst traversing our paths and ways. I know very well what a rumor can do.
Easier to
enact
walk
violence.
a clear road
Exactly.
than go wandering in the woods.
I think we can use this. I think we can use this story. Even if we are weary and fatigued and tired and suffering.
Yeah, he just like laughs and like nods. Yeah, and I think again we get that like really eerie shot of like I think there is a candle quite close to the two of you, but like none of that like yellow candle light is really touching his face or like illuminating him at all. I think there's like a pause and he just says, "I'm very glad that you made it back to us safe. I was worried."
I think maybe that is where Kale's like throat gets a bit tight and she has to like like clear it a little bit.
And he like nudges your tea towards you.
Yeah. She like takes a sip. I think in the back of her head, she's thinking of like that last sight of Arn getting like sort of surrounded by the wraiths and having that moment of like, I've killed someone that I really care about. And says, I'm glad we can share a cup of tea again. And perhaps yet another drop of brandy, apricot brandy, once we can get a hold of some.
Tell you what, the night you sit on the usurper's throne, victorious and triumphant, we'll invite Artair to join us and we'll get blind drunk.
I'll drink to that. And she raises the teacup
Yeah,
and clink.
cheers.
Yeah.
Yeah, great, beautiful, mwah, great, phenomenal, excellent scene.
Nice.
All right, let me do some healing.
I'm gonna let Luke roll all these dice so I can see
So-
Luke's cool power in action.
Pray 3, +1 die because we just get that.
Mhm.
I'm gonna spend 1 stress to help. You, Lauren.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. So mark 5 ticks on your healing clock.
Holy sugar.
Wait.
Oh, that's a crit. Yeah, that'll do it.
Yep, that's crit.
Yeah, that'll do.
That'll
And
do it.
how big are healing was a 4? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
so you can
So-
you can do
Yeah.
4, which will segment it down and just fill in one more tech for the level 1 harm to go back.
Sweet.
Yeah, so the harm drops a level, and then you get 1 towards the next healing roll.
Cool.
And then this is going to be like I'm going to do as my second downtime action. I'm going to also heal in this scene because I also need to heal. So I'm gonna roll for me as well.
Is there any special rules if you tend to yourself? I don't know if there are.
Not especially. Like,
Rock and roll.
It's much of a muchness. Lauren, if you would like to spend 1 stress and give me a bonus die,
Yes.
I would appreciate that. But like,
Yeah,
it's
totally.
not necessary.
We're
No,
empty
that's
on
fine.
stress. This is the time.
Oof, not so good for me. That's fine.
How not so good? Oh, no, that's
That was
fine.
a 4.
It's fine. It's
It's just
2.
disappointing from
two
5d6. You know.
Oh
Like,
yeah. I rolled 5 dice and gotten a 3. So
it's a 2/3 crit. Oh well. All right, cool. And then Strash, do you want to just like roll straight into like
Sure. Yeah.
getting you patched up?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, what does this? So we kind of talked about this at the end of the last session, right? Like we're in this new world of possibility for Arter and Aron, where like they have had one genuine emotional moment, and therefore it is theoretically possible that more could follow. So I'm curious, like, does Aron go looking for Arter? Does Arter come looking for
Oh no,
Aron?
I think
We bump into
Arter.
each other.
Feel free. Like Arter will definitely be at the healing retreat, right? Because I not only push myself, but like I've noticed that my wounds are actually hurting me. So if you suggest, if you're like, hey, listen, we're going up into the mountains, Arter will be like, yeah, I guess I'll come along. So I'm around. It's not even hard to find me. It's not like I'm hiding or avoiding anyone. I imagine that whatever this retreat is like, the famous hot spring caves of the mountains of, what is this place called? White Beam?
The monks of whatever order used to make the cider, or like,
Yeah.
you know.
Somewhere here-ish. Yeah, I'm around. So feel free
Yeah,
to pester me
Awesome.
whenever.
Yeah, out of curiosity, Strash, what is the harm that you took? Is it more of a physical harm? Or is it still
It's a
ghostly
mix,
harm, or-
actually.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, one half of it is I'm still battered, bruised, and bleeding from those horses from back when, and
That was bad.
I'm still wraith touched. We tried healing that previous wound; it just hadn't healed a lot. Maybe because it was still raw and hurting. But yeah,
Yeah, and I think maybe that's like Aron's way in, is like we're all at this healing, we're all like at the healing retreat, and Aron's been off praying all day, like whatever, and yeah, I think he comes to see you with a little like jar of ointment, and I think he knocks on your door in that like faintly awkward way a person does when they're not entirely sure if they're welcome in your like private space or not.
yeah. Notably, I think Artera lets you in, and his actions around this place are. It's interesting, right? Because like Artera's been a soldier now, right? Like he whoever he was once a long time ago, now he's been someone that's been fighting and just like on the road for a long time. And so like he doesn't treat spaces as being particularly like sacred or private. Like his life is fairly utilitarian. Most of his stuff is usually like in a pile in one spot so that it's easy to pick up and leave. Like everything about this room indicates that it's someone else's and I'm just occupying it for a time until it is no longer useful.
Yeah, and so I think I think Aron like comes in and like like settles down on like an uncovered crate or like some object that he can sit on, and I think he like yeah, I think he like turns to look at you, and I think there is something very. I think his tone is like soft and like showing its age in the same way that it was in the immediate aftermath of like the shit show at the keep. in that he like he is like letting you like see that vulnerability again. And I think he just says, I thought I noticed at the keep that you were favoring your right leg. Are your ribs still... And he just kind of like...
I think Arter just sort of like gives it a grunt and is just like if he lifts up his shirt, it's like somebody who was in the makeup department had a field day with some purples. Like, it is a disaster area. Yeah, it's obvious. There's mauling and bleeding, all sorts of stuff, and he's just like, yep. Like,
ooh, yeah. Yeah,
I mean, it looks bad. So.
Yeah, I think Aaron like pulls a face and is like, I'll be honest, that's a lot better than I was expecting. I was worried you might have fractured a rib. And I think, yeah, he like reaches inside, the sleeve of his, his robe, and it pulls out this little, I think it's wooden. I think a lot of the like vessels that people use around here are made of wood because like there are orchards and like that's what they have. This stoppered little wooden jar, and I think he like holds it out to you and he's like, apply it no more than 3 times a day. Whenever it starts to get uncomfortably sore, or if the pain starts to feel like it's deeper than skin deep, it should speed things along.
I think Artero will just take the jar and sort of half grunt, half murmur his thanks, and you get the sense that he's annoyed at the fact that he hasn't healed already, but anybody with like 2 eyes looking at his side would know that would have been impossible in the first place. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think yeah, like Aaron chuckles faintly and is like, no point suffering if you don't need to. It's, in theory, it's faintly numbing. I
think Artero
made this recipe in 40 years. It'll definitely speed up the healing more than that. It depends how well I've remembered.
Okay, whatever you say, priest. I think there are definitely plenty in your order, or maybe not your specific order, but definitely plenty in the priesthoods that would disagree with you on the purposes of needless suffering and inflicting suffering on oneself for wisdom and enlightenment. But I'm glad you don't share their views.
Yeah, I think Aaron just like lets out like the longest sigh and like rolls his eyes. And I think he there's like a little moment of like silence that he is comfortable in, at least. And I think he says, I think he like asks you kind of like fairly bluntly. He's like, you got wraith touched, didn't you? During the kerfuffle.
Wouldn't be the first time.
That's true. And he laughs a little at that. He's like, the difference is this time you're lucky enough to have someone who knows how to treat those kind of injuries. Would you share a cup of tea with me, Arter?
Oh, good. For a second, I was worried you were going to tell me you were going to pray over my hand. Okay.
Yeah, I think he like really laughs at that.
I think he like reaches over and like sets down, just like picks them up by the sides, like in a practice, like almost bartending move. This is some of his like carousal / camaraderie stuff coming through, right? And just like plinks him down, and yeah, like says like, all right, let's make some tea.
Yeah, and like again, Aaron reaches into like another like hidden pocket and like pulls out this little thing and like crushes it between his hands, and the room fills with like, I imagine the tea smells what is the way I want to describe this? Give me a moment, everyone. I'm thinking.
Cool.
know
You
that,
think of
like-
that. I'm gonna mention that Artera actually goes out and gets like a coal with some tongs so that the tea boils
hell
and
yeah.
stuff. So I get the
Yeah.
other accoutrement of it.
Yeah, we're gonna have proper tea.
Proper
Great.
tea.
Yeah, I think it's like, you know, that really like fragrant, pungent smell you get when you crush thyme, like bruise thyme and like let all the essential oils out. And like sage is very much the same. Like it's so strong it's like almost unpleasant, but there is like a deeply comforting like heartiness and like homeliness about it. I think it smells very much like that. Like it is a smell that like reminds you that you are in your body and that your body is alive and that you are in the world. That you're like not out there haunting some horrible moonlit moor in the mist. You know? Like,
Good to know I'm not a wraith.
yeah, right. Like it's a reassuring tea more than anything else. And so yeah, you know, like I think Oren steeps the tea and like, you know, like kind of like gestures to you as though like, do you want to pour the tea? Because like you've clearly taken on hosting duties, and he doesn't want to presume.
Yeah, I think,
And I think-
Artera is very efficient about this, right? Like, just seems to have had a lot of practice dealing with this sort of thing over time. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think like, you know, we cheers our little our little teacups. I think Oren just like tosses back like a teacup, like a cupful, like immediately, like it's a tonic, and then like the next one kind of like sips it actually for enjoyment. But yeah, I think like some way into the pot of tea, he says, Arter, I don't want to insult you you were a bright boy. You've grown up into a clever and capable and talented man. And I know you've fought more wraiths, you've survived more wraith touches than frankly some of the old philosophers thought possible. I know you weren't always able to get proper care for those wounds. And like any wound, if left untreated, sometimes they scar. It's not my place to tell you what you need. I'm not your father. And I'm not your priest. I know you don't particularly believe.
Artera's face. Artera's been like real quiet because you're like poking around stuff that Artera usually doesn't talk about. But the moment you say like, I am not your father, like pure murder goes over his face, like just flickers for a second, and then he just like brings it back under control.
If those scars ever start to weigh, and some healing would be welcome, my door is always open to you. And I think there's like a beat, and then he referring back to earlier in the conversation, he chuckles a little and he's like, no point suffering needlessly, right?
I think Artera says nothing there.
Yeah.
But like very casually, and like way too calculated to actually be casual.
Yeah.
Just says, "So where'd you learn how to make this tea?" And like tries to like swerve the conversation.
Yeah, no,
and we'll keep it off topic, but like, I think like if you're like whenever it's done and you say that it's good, the treatment's complete, you're ready to go. As you're walking out the door, I think he just says priest. And then if you turn around,
Yeah, no, of course.
yeah, he just says they're not needless.
Yeah, and I think he nods.
They're the thing that keeps this weapon sharp.
Oof.
My name is Oren Arter.
Good tidbit. I take it to heart. I appreciate the Luke RP. Where you're just like, I'm not just priest, but yeah.
Yeah, cool. Let's do this thing.
Yeah, roll some dices. Let's see how
Yeah.
this
Do you want to invest the 1 stress to get that up to a 5?
Hell yeah, do it. I'll mark
Yep,
a stress. Let me get my sheets. Oh wait, I have to clear my stress because I did
That's
the
a
trauma
6.
thing. Boop. All right, so that's what 3.
3 ticks.
So that'll move all of my stuff down.
Oh yeah. That's the goal.
So we have to. Do you folks want to? So bruised, battered, and bleeding might just become bruised and
4?
battered. How about just bruised? Is bruised
Yeah.
okay? All right.
Yeah.
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 And then what does a level 1 wraith touched harm look like?
I don't think the handprints go away, right? I think they just
No.
become. I think they just scar, right? They just kind of scar over.
Okay.
Marked.
Yeah.
Cool. And then when that heals, I don't think it'll go away either, but I think it'll just stop influencing my rolls or affecting me, yeah?
Yeah.
It'll stop being tender.
Yeah.
Right? Like the
Cool.
scars will go numb.
Yeah.
So Luke, since I have an extra action I specifically bought for this,
Yes.
would you be willing to roll the exact same die pool? I will also invest.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, I like this as the vibe of like one of these rolls is we have tea and we treat your wraith stuff, and the other roll is like over the next like 2 weeks you faithfully apply your like ointment
Ointment, yes.
to your ribs.
Get my
and, like,
bandages changed
we
every...
we see whether or not I know what I'm doing.
Somewhat. 2 ticks, it's okay.
Sure.
Could be
I
worse.
guess I know what I'm doing.
Actually, I think this is clear too. Alright. Sweet! I think that's that.
All right.
I'm done with actions for
Alright.
downtimes.
Yeah, Lauren, do you know what you want to do for your? Oh wait, no, you've done yours, haven't you?
I've done mine, but I do still have ambitious, which is I can put 2 ticks into any long-term project involving forging
Ooh.
alliances or developing the domain. So I was like, I
Woohoo.
could just pop them both in the clock for Una and call that
Yeah.
an extra thing.
Sounds
I can
good.
do it. Hell yeah,
That's what it's
Yeah,
for.
that's cool.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, Una is in the capital at Hawthorne, and her first dueling teacher is there. And as like his students go out in the world to teach, she gives them letters. And then, so they get to go out under the radar, and, letters get handed and handed and handed until finally, they make their way to you.
Excellent. I think a letter in return is probably like a bit awkward, but I feel like it's a bit of like a little avenue to like not vent per se, because you wouldn't want to vent too much about private matters in a letter that may or may not get accepted.
Right.
But I think it's like it's a bit more vulnerable and a bit more honest than she's pretty honest with Aaron though. I think it is like this is a place I can write that Aaron and Altair aren't gonna know about what I'm writing. So it's a bit like I hope you're well. Like I received your last letter. It sounds like things are moving along. Like sort of storms on the horizon potentially, but with storms become spring, and like maybe she's like, yeah, that's some good romantic poetry, trying to channel Aaron.
Nice.
Oh my god. I know what I want to do with my last action.
Go for it.
I would like to work on one of my long-term project clocks, the Make Kale My Friend, mechanically clock.
Oh yes.
And I think the friendship activity that we do is like me helping you write love poetry.
Yes, please.
Oh,
I love them.
very good content. Yeah, I suppose I'm curious, like what is Kale's like default mode of romantic poetry look like?
For some reason, I have this image of Oren being like, no, don't use the
Don't
word
use
loins.
similes. Yeah.
Don't use the word loins.
Do not write in the format of a limerick.
Yeah, that's it.
Sorry.
Free verse.
Free verse, yeah.
The true soul. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I'm curious. Like, what does Kale normally write poems like? And then I'll figure out like how is Oren like 90 degrees to that.
Yeah, it probably is a lot of simile, like a lot of like sort of crutch work for poems like that, where it's sort of overused a bit because it's like the one literary device that she knows, like the moon in the sky, kind of.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
standing at the shore and waiting for your loved one to come home, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think Oren's perspective, and I want to shout out specifically Ocean Vuong, who is a poet who recently did a really great kind of 25 post thread on his Instagram about like the nature of metaphor in poetry. That's really good, and you all should go check it out because it was sick as hell. I think it's very much an energy of that, of like, I think Oren's whole thing is like we come back to this idea of like before you speak, before you can know what will move someone, you have to listen.
Mm.
But I think this time the lesson is not like you have to listen to the person, because obviously if you're exchanging love letters with a person, it's because you are not in the same place with them, which makes listening to them kind of different. I think it's this idea of like listening to yourself and like being connected to the world, and like Oren's view is one of like metaphor is a way that we can like capture in literature the paths that exist between like things that we would not think of as related, and is a way of like investing the world with a sense of like relatedness and a lived-inness, and like celebrating how we're all like fundamentally and inherently intertwined in social relations and in material relations with like, you know, the landscapes that we live in, and like the agricultural processes that produce our food, and like the history and the lives of the people who built the buildings that we live in now. Like all of those things we are ultimately connected to, and that like metaphor is a way of honoring the fact that a thing is never just one thing. It is like a whole history of all the things that touched it and that it will touch in turn. And so I think Oren is like no canned similes, no tired old idioms. Like, if you're going to talk about the moon, I want you to think about the moon. Like, I want you to actually think about the moon. I want you to actually think about yourself and your relationship with the moon and what the moon means to you. And I want you to say something about that.
Love it.
Don't just talk about like, you know, something silver in the moonlight, blah 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 something. You know, like fuck that.
I love it too, and I know I don't like the words off the top of my head, but it probably does take the shape of, you know, like the sort of cyclic nature of what we're doing, and sort of like the waxing and waning that comes with death.
Yeah, I think
there's on that route.
There's definitely a bit in there about the tides, right? About like the relationship
Yeah.
of the moon and the tides, and the ways in which the tides are a metaphor, right, for like history that has brought us back to this shore. Anyway, I could go on. I'm not going to. I'll spare you all. I do think like tonally, I think where we end up is something a lot like, there's something I've always found incredibly refreshing and like almost like unbearably like laid bare and intimate about the way that like Pablo Neruda used to write love poetry. Like, it felt like so deeply personal sometimes. And I think that is like the energy of like, if I had to characterize like Oren's advice on writing a love poem, I think he's basically just like, cut open your chest and like rip out your heart, just like lay it bare in a way that is almost uncomfortable in how like intimate it is.
Lovely.
Yep.
Lay it on strong.
Cool. Anyway, I'm gonna roll sway because I think I'm teaching you how to sway people with poetry.
Amazing.
Yeah, I think what we've learned today is that sleep deprivation reverts me back to 2015 and my like English lit degree.
Element.
Oh, very good. Very
Oh.
good.
Do we want to take a break and then come back and
I've been playing for like an hour
figure
and
out
a
a
half.
job?
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah, sounds good.
Uh,
How
A
did we do?
sortie? I'm sorry.
What was the role?
we need to figure out what the heck our sortie
Oh, yeah.
sortie plan is exactly. So
Yeah.
we'll figure that out.
Nice,
All right,
sick.
hang on a second. Let me. John, surprising me with the timer. You need to like message me or something so I can be all ready. and
Sorry.
stuff. All right, cool. Well, folks, we're gonna take a little break and we will be right back. And yes, I have my timer set up.